All sentient beings share the same wish. They want to be free from suffering. According to Buddhism, this liberation can be accelerated by meeting great bodhisattvas, beings who use their own liberation for helping others. This is why meeting great bodhisattvas is of the utmost importance. And the moments before the meeting are spent in a feeling of joyful expectation. Wherever he goes, whether in the east or in the west, hundreds and thousands of people gather to give him a warm welcome. His Holiness, the Karmapa, has been one of the highest Buddhist dignitaries of Himalayan Buddhist countries, as well as of China, for about 900 years.
We have to understand actually what is the purpose of life, what is the meaning of life.
People come to receive his blessings, his teachings and spiritual support. Just to catch a glimpse of him is considered auspicious. As the Buddha said in a famous teaching, seeing a great bodhisattva's face just for a moment will purify you from the negative karma of many lifetimes. So who is the Karmapa? The present Karmapa stands in a long row of outstanding lamas who reincarnate again and again in order to help others.
The function and the significance of Karmapa has always been to benefit all sentient beings through teaching and through developing and through spreading the lineage and the transmissions of Karma Kagyu. And it has been done throughout the incarnations of Karmapa.
The first Karmapa lived in Tibet in the 12th century. He was the first Lama who, prior to his death, described the circumstances of his rebirth. This is why, ever since, the Karmapas are known as the first reincarnated Bodhisattva Lamas of Tibet. They have, throughout all their reincarnations, been upholding and passing on the teachings of the Buddha. That is why this young monk is received everywhere with the utmost respect. Wherever he goes, he shares with the people the Buddha's uplifting message.
No matter who we are, whether we're human beings or any types of sentient being, the real fact that one sees from a Buddhist point of view is that we all have this very positive nature, and that is called the enlightened nature, or in Sanskrit it's called the bodhicitta. And it is due to this, we are able to achieve enlightenment.
The 17th Karmapa was born in Lhasa, Tibet in May 1983. His father, the Venerable Mipam Rinpoche, is a renowned teacher of the Nyingma tradition. His younger brother, Sonam Semo Rinpoche, is also a high reincarnate Lama of Tibetan Buddhism. His mother, Dechan Wangmo, dedicated herself to Buddhist practice from childhood. The young Karmapa, his name was then Tenzin Khyentse, spent the first part of his childhood in Tibet. During this time, on several occasions, he himself gave hints as to who he was. When the Karmapa was not even 1 year old, Dorje Kandro, a relative of the 16th Karmapa, visited us. She used to practice a lot in retreat. Upon seeing her, the Karmapa beamed all over his face. She asked him, "Who are you? What's the matter with you?" He answered, "I am the Karmapa." Hearing this, Dorje Kandro was moved to tears and prostrated to him. She said the 16th Karmapa had told her that they would certainly meet again. However, she had not met him before he passed away. Now she was old herself and had lost all her hopes of seeing the Karmapa again. She asked me to take good care of my son and to keep everything very clean. She said she was convinced that he is the Karmapa and that she was exceedingly happy. The next day she offered garments and many other things to the Karmapa. I was extremely surprised that my little child, who hadn't hitherto been able to speak, all of a sudden had spoken these words. It's often said that a Karmapa reincarnation reveals himself through his own deeds and activities. Nevertheless, there are centuries-old traditional procedures designed to find the authentic reincarnation of his predecessor. The Sharma Rinpoche, the Red Hat Lama of Tibet, Mipam Chökyi Lodra, is the 14th Karmapa who, in accordance with the 900-year-old tradition of the lineage, recognized the reincarnation of the 17th Karmapa, Trinle Taye Dorje, in 1994. His Holiness, the late 16th Karmapa, Ranjung Rigpe Dorje, left Tibet in 1959. He settled in Sikkim, India, where he established Ramtek Monastery as his main seat outside Tibet. Later on, he travelled to East Asia, Europe and the United States, and was thus instrumental in making Tibetan Buddhism accessible worldwide. He was an outstanding Buddhist master who transmitted the sacred lineage of Buddhist practice to his students. Foremost among the 16th Karmapa's disciples is His Holiness the Sharmapa, traditionally second to the Karmapa in the Karma Kagyu tradition. The Karmapa and the Sharmapa were the first reincarnated lamas in Tibet. While the second Karmapa manifested in the 13th century, the second Sharmapa did so in the 14th century. It was the fourth Karmapa who recognized the second Sharmapa. In turn, it was the second Sharmapa who recognized the fifth Karmapa. And in this way, the tradition of the Sharmapa and the Karmapa recognizing each other has started. Thus, the historical records of Tibet refer to the Karmapa and the Sharmapa respectively as the Black Hat Karmapa and the Red Hat Karmapa. It was obvious then that the responsibility to ensure the identification of the 16th Karmapa's reincarnation would fall to the Sharmapa. So, in 1994, he officially recognized the young Karmapa as the 17th holder of the Black Crown and gave him the name Trinle Taye Dorje.
I confirmed he is the genuine reincarnation of the late Kyawa Karmapa who passed away in 1981.
At the beginning of 1994, Tenzin Khyentse, the then 10-year-old boy who was to become known as the 17th Karmapa, left his mother country. Shortly after his arrival in India, the Sharmapa performed the welcoming ceremony at the Karmapa International Buddhist Institute in New Delhi. During the ceremony, various traditional offerings were presented to the Karmapa. Now, hundreds of the disciples of the late 16th Karmapa, who passed away in 1981, had the joyful opportunity to meet the Karmapa again after 13 years of waiting. For the first time in his life, the young boy was now in Delhi, where he had no family or friends. Yet his composure, dignity and ease, blended with his warmth and affection, completely enthralled everyone. The world again had a Karmapa, the 17th holder of the Black Crown, Trinle Taye Dorje.
The moment I was recognized as the Karmapa, I was entrusted with the great responsibility not merely to help a few individuals, but to commit myself to the welfare of all beings. This is my commitment as the Karmapa.
For some years, the 17th Karmapa stayed in New Delhi. With his official recognition, the time had come for the young Karmapa to intensify his studies and training, an important phase for the spiritual head of an ancient Buddhist tradition. The studies encompass a wide range of topics such as languages, Buddhist philosophy and epistemology, as well as training in various meditation practices and rituals.
I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, then I perform my recitations. From 9 to 11 I study grammar and other topics. From 3 onwards I study the 37 practices of a bodhisattva. I take my dinner at 8 and I go to bed at 10.
Every evening, usually together with some other monks, the Karmapa performs a ritual of protection.
Buddhism means acting in such a way that benefit for others and for oneself arises. That's it, I think.
While staying in Delhi, the Karmapa studied with teachers such as Tobka Rinpoche and Khenpo Chodrak Rinpoche, both close disciples and assistants of the 16th Karmapa.
Well, I'm just teaching him Tibetan grammar, which is a little bit complicated and which is very important.
Tobka Rinpoche, a highly accomplished Buddhist scholar, had been the Vajra master of Tsopu Monastery, the 16th Karmapa seat in Tibet. In 1959, he accompanied his master to India. He kept his function at the Karmapa's new seat, Rumtek Monastery in Sikkim, India, until his marriage to a Bhutanese princess. At the 16th Karmapa's request, he became the General Secretary of the Karmapa's entire administration. Asked about the meaning of the Tibetan word tulku, that is to say, a reincarnate master, he says,
So tulku, I think, really means that you have a capability to come back for the others. Karmapa, I think, is one of them.
Khenpo Chodrak Rinpoche is a well-known Buddhist scholar. Under the supervision of the late Karmapa, he studied for more than 20 years with masters of various schools of Tibetan Buddhism. The 16th Karmapa appointed him the principal of the Institute for Higher Buddhist Studies at his main seat in India. For many years, he has been teaching Buddhism worldwide.
In general, it's completely impossible for us as ordinary beings to judge who is an enlightened bodhisattva. However, taking into consideration that he's only 11 years old, the way he behaves, understands and looks at things can definitely lead to the conclusion that he is a highly realized bodhisattva. In particular, I myself can definitely see certain patterns in his behavior which the previous Karmapa had. This is very, very obvious.
In 1997, the Karmapa moved to Kalimpong, a charming small town in the Himalayas close to Darjeeling. He lives on its outskirts in a house that the 16th Karmapa had visited on several occasions.
I moved to this quiet and pleasant place because it's very conducive to my studies.
In Kalimpong too, the Karmapa's daily agenda consists mainly of studies and meditation. Early in the morning, he does his meditation in his room. In his studies, he focuses on Buddhist philosophy and on languages.
Very pleased to be able to borrow this because I know two of the actors. I was teaching in the University of London for more than 30 years, and so I'm quite used to having young students. In fact, we were able to discuss even religious matters from the very beginning. This was quite unexpected.
Every day, a certain time is reserved for audiences. The visitors who ask for blessing and advice come from all parts of the world. Sometimes distinguished guests such as His Holiness Drikung Chapgun Chetsang, the head of the Drikung Kagyu tradition, visit the Karmapa. Karmapa's permanent philosophy teacher in Kalimpong is the Venerable Professor Sempa Dorje, an accomplished Buddhist scholar in all aspects of Buddhism and emeritus professor from the renowned Sanskrit University in Varanasi. In his youth, Professor Sempa Dorje spent decades in Tibet, studying Buddhism under the guidance of masters of various traditions, Later, he came back to his native India, where he established himself as one of today's foremost Buddhist scholars.
There are many students who study the Buddhist teachings and the ways of practicing Buddhism. Karmapa Rinpoche is an outstanding student in this regard. He's not an ordinary person, he's different.
Attached to the Karmapa's residence in Kalimpong is a Shedra, an institute for higher Buddhist studies. The inauguration took place in the year 2002. During Losar, the Tibetan New Year festivities, the monks who study there throughout the year have holidays. They take part in the rituals associated with the beginning of the new year. Everyone enjoys the festive atmosphere of these days. In addition to his intensive training in Buddhist philosophy and meditation, a lineage holder of Tibetan Buddhism also has to maintain the rich Vajrayana transmissions. To be able to do so, he first has to receive these himself from other authentic and experienced masters. The Karmapa, who holds the lineage of the Kagyu tradition of empowerments, is transmitting them to the Karmapa in the seclusion of the Kagyu monastery in France. He has bestowed upon him the empowerments of Chakra Samvara and Vajrayogini, the collection of initiations of the 9th Karmapa called Knowledge in One is Perfection in All, and the collection of the 7th Karmapa called Mahamudra Transmissions of the Indian Mahasiddhas. His Eminence Chogpe Tri Rinpoche, the then head of the Tsapa lineage within the Sakya school of Tibetan Buddhism, was an outstanding scholar and accomplished meditation master from Tibet. There was a close spiritual relationship between the previous incarnation of Chogpe Tri Rinpoche and the 15th Karmapa, Kakyab Dorje. At the Karmapa's request, Chogpe Tri Rinpoche gave a broad range of Vajrayana empowerments and instructions to the young Karmapa based on the so-called Compendium of Sadhanas. He also gave him the extensive empowerments in Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara and Vajrapani, as well as the extensive empowerment in He Vajra, according to the Mapa tradition. As an expression of gratitude for having received these Vajrayana teachings, an offering feast was conducted after the conclusion of these auspicious empowerments. Chob K3 Rinpoche passed away in 2007.
When he was given the transmission, actually he was giving, in Tibetan we call it menga or damga, and it was not just a blessing, but it was really to shift the knowledge that what you get in that practice, such as like Manjushri, Jeresic, whatever. So whatever you understand, whatever you know, it's all the knowledge that actually you shift to the person.
The very venerable Khenchen Trinley Palchor Rinpoche spent a great part of his life in secluded retreat, both in Tibet and in India. Khenchen Rinpoche received the Kagyu transmissions from the late 16th Karmapa. At the request of the Shamapa, he came to the largest Karma Kagyu monastery in France, which was initiated by the 16th Karmapa and bestowed important Kagyu transmissions on the Karmapa. Khenchen Rinpoche is venerated as one of today's great meditation masters, with a broad knowledge of Buddhism, and he's highly esteemed for his capacity to transmit the Vajrayana instructions in a completely pure way. After the empowerments, Khenchen Rinpoche pointed out that everything had been very auspicious. He praised the Karmapa's qualities and said that the Karmapa will definitely carry on the activities of his predecessor, the 16th Karmapa.
I've requested the transmissions of the practice of the 6 Dharmas of Naropa from him.
The Karmapa trains in various methods under the guidance of this experienced meditation master. And here he leaves his retreat, enriched with yet further transmissions and experiences of enormous value. This will allow him to continue the ancient comprehensive methods designed to develop one's inner potential and to transmit them to others.
I
was really very, very happy. It was my first retreat. I focused entirely on meditation practice.
After the retreat, the Karmapa expressed his gratitude for the transmissions by presenting a symbolic mandala offering to Khenchen Rinpoche. Since 1954, His Eminence Lodin Khenri Rinpoche has been one of the main heads of the Nor lineage within the Sakya school of Tibetan Buddhism. In this function, he was the one in charge of bestowing the ordination vows, as well as the Bodhisattva and Vajrayana commitments to the monks and nuns of the Sakya tradition. Lodin Khenri Rinpoche transmitted to the Karmapa parts of the all-encompassing collection of the Buddhist Tantras, compiled in the 19th century by Kongtro Lodro Taye and Changyang Lodro Wangpo. For many decades, these teachings were mainly transmitted in the Sakya school, However, Kongtro Lotro Tae had already predicted that they would one day return to the Kagyu Pass. Accordingly, in 1961, the late Chamyang Khyentse told Lodingken Rinpoche that he would one day transmit these teachings to the Kagyu Pass. The symbolic offering at the end expressed the deep appreciation felt by those who had the opportunity to receive these precious instructions. Asked about the essential meaning of such an empowerment and about what empowerments he conferred, Lodingken Rinpoche said,
"The meaning of an empowerment is that it matures the mind stream. I gave him 21 main empowerments, all of which were major empowerments, as well as the permission initiations to the 21 taras.
During this time, His Holiness Sakya Trenzin Rinpoche, the head of the Sakya school, accompanied by His Eminence Dungse Rinpoche, came to pay a visit to the Karmapa. Another fundamental series of transmissions given by the Karmapa himself took place in New Delhi. Karmapa's parents, his brother Surnam Tsemo Rinpoche and many other teachers of the Kagyu school came to take part in these empowerments as well. The Karmapa gave the Karmapa and the other Kagyu teachers the entire transmission of the Treasury of Kagyu Mantras, a precious collection of all those tantras which the great translator Mapa had brought to Tibet in the 11th century and which had been transmitted in the Kagyu school. Throughout the history of Tibetan Buddhism, right up to the present day, these spiritual methods have been applied by numerous practitioners, and many, it is said, have achieved various stages of enlightenment through them. Generally speaking, empowerments are part of the Vajrayana. This approach of Buddhist practice comprises a wide range of methods. Empowerments are the gateway through which practitioners embark on this path. The different steps of an empowerment allow the practitioner to generate a direct understanding of mind's true nature. This first impulse is then further cultivated by means of meditation. According to tradition, the Karmapa expresses his gratitude to the Karmapa by presenting him with the traditional mandala offering. After all these years of studies, transmissions and empowerments, Karmapa bestowed the title of a Vajradhara, the holder of indestructible wisdom, on the Karmapa. This ceremony, celebrating the completion of the 17th Karmapa's formal education, took place on December the 1st, 2003, at at the Karmapa International Buddhist Institute in New Delhi. With this step, the Shamarpa indicated that the Karmapa was now to resume his function as the head of the Karma Kagyu school. The Shamarpa presented him with the scroll depicting the title Vajradhara. Various auspicious symbols indicating his mastery and benefiting others were then presented to the Karmapa. After the Shamarpa had given these offerings to the Karmapa, representatives of students from all over the world had the opportunity to present their offerings as well. In celebration of the Vajradhara ceremony, the Karmapa was also invited by Mr. Ashok Barma, who had already been a benefactor of the 16th Karmapa. From the age of 16, the Karmapa had already been travelling to many countries to teach the Buddha Dharma and to meet the worldwide community of his disciples.